One of us is right, and the other one is you. Welcome to Sales for Nice People. Obviously, you don't talk to people like that, but actually, very often we do. When you try and convince and persuade people, what you're doing is sending a message that says, listen, I know stuff, I am in the right, and therefore the message that the other person gets is, well, then I must be in the wrong. And this is really destructive for any human interaction because nobody likes to be made wrong. Nobody likes to have somebody else show up and say, well, the way I see things is the way things are. And I had a client a few years ago who would literally say this to people. One of us is right and the other one is you. Now, obviously, he struggled tremendously to get his point across. And this was so heartbreaking to see because this was a really good person, somebody who really takes care of people. But he just couldn't get around his habit of trying to convince and persuade people. And then when he didn't get his way, he would start pushing harder. He would try to reason in more compelling ways and be more persuasive, kind of like what typical salespeople tend to do. Like you say, I'm not interested, and you go, yes, but aren't you interested in saving money? Yes, I am, but I'm not interested in talking to you. Now, this habit, this behavior of trying to persuade harder the more pushback you get doesn't work. If you want to get things done with people, and if you want a buyer to enroll in the sales process and to enroll in the purchase, you cannot afford to make them wrong. And when you convince and argue and persuade, you are effectively saying one of us is right and the other one is you. That doesn't work. Instead, get people to think. Ask your buyer questions that make them think about whether or not they should solve the problem. This is how you work together on a sale. This is why you do sales with people, not to people. So be very careful when you communicate that you don't inadvertently make the other person wrong. Don't make your buyer wrong by having the best ideas or by trying to find ways to get them to agree with your point of view. Just ask your buyer questions, get them to think, get them to share their point of view with you. Over time, your point of view is going to overlap. You're going to be sharing a vision, and they're going to buy into the sales process of their own accord without you having to convince or argue or persuade or reason with them. Does that make sense? Well, then you understand how Sales for Nice People works. And if you want to get a more in-depth understanding, either get the book, you can find it on the website, or sign up for a daily email at salesfornicepeople.com/sign up. And I'll see you again tomorrow.